Let's wrap things up tonight, having a historian and author, William Federer, join us and remind us about that beautiful piece of paper, the Declaration of Independence, and what this nation means. This shiny city on the hill, this beacon of hope and freedom. William, nice to see you. So fill us in, take us back 249 years. I know there's a couple dates here. There's July 2nd, something went down, July 4th, something went down, and August, what was it, 6th or 8th, a month later, something went down. Fill us in on how this all went when we declared our independence, William, and welcome. Happy 4th.
Well, thank you, Dan. Well, background, the most common form of government in world history is kings. Nimrod, Pharaoh, Caesar, Kaiser, Sultan, Tsar. They keep getting bigger because with the latest military advancements, kings can kill more people. Until finally the King of England had the biggest empire that planet Earth had ever seen. The sun never set on the British Empire. He controlled India, Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, British Guyana, Canada, Barbados, Bermuda, Jamaica, and America. He was a globalist. He was a one-world government guy. And America's founders didn't like that, and they flipped it and made the people the king, right? So kings have subjects who are subjected to their will. Republics have citizens, and the word citizen means co-ruler, co-sovereign, co-king. Little background, you had the British East India Company took over Bengal, India, and rearranged their economy to grow more profitable crops. And guess what? They had a famine, 10 million died, and the British East India Company was going bankrupt, and so they needed the king to bail them out. And he said, you can tax the people in England. They said, we don't want to be taxed, tax the colonies. And so the British East India Company directly sold the tea to the people, and then they had the Boston Tea Party throwing the British tea in the harbor, and so the British decided to blockade Boston Harbor, and Thomas Jefferson drafts a day of fasting and prayer for Virginia. George Washington said, went to church, fasted all day, June 1st, 1774. And the royal governor disbands their legislature, considers it a protest. So they go to Raleigh Tavern down the street. They plot to have a Continental Congress, which opens in September. And then the next year is the Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty, Give Me Death, about the Bunker Hill. But then you have the Declaration of Independence. So Richard Henry Lee, proposed breaking from England, proposed independence. They put it off a month. They finally voted on July 2nd.
That's what it was. Voted
Richard
on the 2nd.
Henry Lee's
Yep.
to adopt his resolution on independence. So we voted for independence on July 2nd. But then the actual document of the Declaration, they approved the wording on July 4th.
Aha.
And John Hancock probably signed it. He was the president of the Continental Congress, probably Charles Thompson, the secretary. Then they had a cleaned up copy, all right, because they were scratching stuff out. There was the original version of the Declaration got rid of slavery, but South Carolina and Georgia wouldn't go along with that, and they said it had to be unanimous. And since the British were invading New York, they rushed it through. But the engrossed copy, all nicely written, was signed on August 2nd. But really, many had gone back to their colonies to fight the war, and it took 6 months for the rest of them to come back and finally put their signature to this document that made them enemies of the king. And once those names got published, guess what? The king specifically went after them, and their homes were looted and burned, and all kinds of horrible stories that they paid a dear price for putting their name on that document.
Yeah. Now, we do the 4th because that's when everyone accepted it, even though the signature wasn't until August 2nd, but the agreement was July 2nd. But since on the 4th, that's when they started drafting it. That's why we decided then in 1870, years later, that we would make the 4th the day. Is that how we got to that then, 100 and so years later?
Right. So on July 2nd is when John Adams wrote to his wife, Abigail Adams, and he talked about that day. He says, I'm apt to believe that that day, July 2nd, will be celebrated by succeeding generations as a great anniversary festival commemorated by solemn acts of devotion to Almighty God, solemnized with pomp, parade, shows, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of the continent to the other. So that's where we get the fireworks.
That's where we get it. Thank you, Mr. Adams, Mr. Jefferson, Mr. Washington, all these names that we've all grown up with. And thank you, William Federer, for the history lesson on our 4th of July. You take care. God bless.
Thank you.